Last series, I told you about the glories of the great British garlic, and boy, did you rise to the occasion. But this time, I've really got my work cut out. The truth is that this particular ingredient has been hopping in and out of our pots for hundreds of years, although nowadays it's more thought of as a cuddly pet. I'm determined to put rabbit back into your cooking pots. And when have I, Clarissa Dickson-Wright, ever seen you wrong? During World War II, the British bunny helped feed a whole nation, but nowadays we recoil at the mere thought of it. In the UK, wild rabbits wreak havoc on our farmland and have to be controlled, and I want to get those rabbits back onto our plates. And to convince you, I'll be challenging all your misconceptions.
Oh, no, that's
all right,
nice.
you don't have to look at it.
Away. It's such a shame.
Taking my crusade to the next generation. Students of Ruskin University, come to the refectory and try our delicious rabbit Wellingtons and rabbit sausage rolls. And in the revival kitchen, I'll be proving that nothing tastes better than rabbit. I don't think we have anything one half as good as that these days. I was born just after World War II, and during the Second World War, rabbit was one of the staples. The first time I remember eating rabbit was the occasion when my brother and I ferreted one, and I took it home so proudly, and we ate it, and it just tasted wonderful. I've been cooking with rabbit all my life, and I absolutely love it. Up until the 1950s, rabbit was a British staple and as familiar as pork and beef. But in 1953, everything changed when myxomatosis, a devastating virus, wiped out 99% of Britain's wild rabbits. Even though myxomatosis is no longer a widespread threat and rabbits readily available, you're still not buying it. And I'm determined to find out why that is and why you've given up eating it. In the past, it was common to buy your rabbit in the market and carry it home for that night's supper. Do you eat rabbit?
Very rarely.
Why don't you eat it anymore?
Rabbit nowadays has a very bad record.
What, since the mixie?
Yes. Oh no, that's
all right.
not nice.
You don't have to
Take
look
it
at it.
away. It's such a shame.
Why?
Oh, it's an animal. It's a soul. It's a.
Well,
it's a
I wouldn't
living
mind if somebody ate me.
being. I couldn't possibly. Oh, it's such a shame. I can't look.
I wouldn't eat rabbit now because it seems awful to eat it now.
Why?
I don't know, I just do. But when I was a little girl, it was something you ate and didn't ask questions about.
The opinion I'm finding is that people are getting awfully squeamish in this day and age. But I think with people of my generation, they've probably been put off by the mixie. Maybe it's time to canvass the younger generation. Would you eat it if you had the opportunity?
Yeah, I would. Oh, yeah, I would.
Would you?
I've eaten it before, I think.
Excellent. There you are. Well, you'll have to cook it for him.
Yes.
I've never been served it, but I don't think I would eat it if I were served it.
Is it the sort of fluffy bunny image that stops you eating it? You know, I wouldn't eat a household pet.
But that would be definitely the reason for my initial reaction.
As I suspected, most people just are overly sentimental and soppy and think of rabbits as sweet little pets and have never even tried eating them. We need to get over these ridiculous prejudices about eating this wonderfully tasty meat. So I'm going to start by showing you how easy it is to cook with, and aren't you in for a treat? For this dish, I'm going to make a rabbit casserole. This recipe will cost you about £5 and will easily feed a whole family. I guarantee even your novice cook out there will have no trouble making it. So if you're just a rabbit virgin, this is a very good place to start. It's almost impossible to go wrong. I'm using a whole rabbit, which you can get from your butchers for as little as £1, an absolute bargain. If you're one of those people who goes on about wild and free and eating organically, you don't get much better than rabbit. Now I'm just going to show you how to joint a rabbit because this is something you will need to know, because this is how you will buy your rabbit from a butcher's or a market stall. You want to take the legs off, and it's a bit like cutting a chicken into joints. The idea of jointing a rabbit puts a lot of people off, but it's very straightforward, no worse than dealing with a chicken. Now, you want to cut through what is the loin of the rabbit. The loin is the equivalent of the breast on a chicken. It's not as plump, but believe me, it's far more delicious. That's probably the best bit of the rabbit. And then you're left with the saddle, and you just want to cut it across. If you think this looks grisly, all I can say to you really is, don't be so ridiculous. You know, if you're going to eat it, you ought to be able to cut it up. Isn't that easy? Once I have my cuts, I'm ready to prepare my casserole. Rabbit doesn't have a huge amount of intrinsic flavour. People are sort of nervous of rabbit because they're afraid it'll taste too gamey. In fact, rather like chicken, it needs flavours added to it. So I'm going to marinate the rabbit pieces now. I'm using a good splash of white wine, some olive oil and lemon juice, garlic, a sprig of fresh rosemary and a few bay leaves, and finally some chopped onion and celery. I'm just going to mix it around so that it all has a chance to mellow. It then goes into the fridge overnight, allowing the wonderful fresh flavours to work their magic. This one's already prepped. Now there's a lovely smell from this marinade, the smell of the herbs, the lemon juice, the wine. I take out and dry off the rabbit before dusting it in seasoned flour. You can add a bit of dried mustard if you want, or a bit of cayenne pepper, anything you feel like, really. Then gently fry the meat until golden brown to seal in the flavours, before adding the remainder of the marinade and the seasoning. Smelling absolutely lovely. I'm just going to put this in the oven now for an hour or possibly more. Once it's ready, a gastronomic family feast awaits. Am I not a woman of my word? Perfect. And what could be simpler than that? Now, don't tell me you can't cook this, my wonderfully warming and scrumptious rabbit casserole. Really delicious. If you've ever believed me before, believe me now. Rabbit is what you want to eat. We might be able to buy a rabbit for £1, but centuries ago it was a food only the wealthy could enjoy. I've come to Thetford Priory to meet Tom Williamson, a professor of history, to learn more about the pedigree of the rabbit.
Welcome to sunny Norfolk.
I know, bliss, isn't it? Sitting on a rather hard flint wall with you under a brolly. I mean, what could be better in life, really? So, why are we sitting here in the rain, in the remains of this magnificent priory?
We are here because the prior of Thetford was one of the big ecclesiastical landowners who had a large warren on the surrounding heaths, on the neighbouring heaths.
Thetford Priory was home to the Benedictine monks and dates back almost 1,000 years. In medieval times, the monks started farming rabbits for their fur and meat. The land surrounding the priory was full of warrens, teeming with thousands of rabbits. Who would have eaten a rabbit?
Oh, it's a posh food. Rich people eat it. Great landowners, great ecclesiastical people like the prior. It's something you would have had at a feast, but I want to take you somewhere much, much more interesting than this priory, and that's the Warren Lodge.
Rabbit meat was so prized it was served in royal households, and lodges like this one were built to defend the valuable rabbit warrens against attack.
So here it is.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, it's
God,
great.
It's fantastic.
So from here you'd have seen poachers, predators of the rabbits. You'd better keep an eye on the whole thing from the roof, where there'd be a parapet to look at.
So you say they were valuable. I mean, how valuable?
Well, if you were a labourer or a peasant, you'd have to work several days to be able to afford a rabbit. I mean, they are expensive things. It's such a fantastic statement how important rabbits are in the medieval world.
So can one go in?
Well, come have a look.
The Warreners lived in the lodge so they could protect the rabbits day and night. It was built like a mini fortress.
Firstly, thickness of the walls, massively thick. But look at that.
Good Lord.
That is either for pouring hot water, oil, anything obnoxious on an attacker. That's what people often say. Or probably it's really for pouring water down because the door is here. If the way of getting into a building like this is to burn the door down.
Of course, yes.
And that's what you want to stop at all costs. But that shows serious defensive intention. And then coming in, you can't get far in. The other thing you can see here is the ground floor windows at these kind of narrow, slitty things, which you can fire out of.
Yeah.
And the upper floor ones are generally bigger.
I quite happily live here. Get the fireplace going.
Get the warren going again.
Get the warren going again. That
Cook
would be good.
Cook up some rabbit.
Over time, rabbit fur and meat became less valuable commodities and the practice of warrening died out. As rabbits started populating the wild, rabbit became a food of the poor and cemented itself as a staple on British plates. It's remarkable, isn't it? All this effort to preserve the rabbit, all this money involved in rabbits, and now we just throw them away in landfill sites or regard them as some sort of Walt Disney cuddly pet. The image of cute, fluffy bunnies is all well and good, but in reality they're destructive countryside pests which breed incredibly fast. The British rabbit population is at its highest since 1950, and I've come down the road to meet Simon Whitehead, a specialist in traditional rabbit control.
Well, this is the rabbit damage. You can see it's typical half-moon shape. They grow wheat on this every year. And that's what they're damaging. You know, it can run into many thousands of pounds. And if left, then they're going to breed, and they're just going to get a worse problem.
Hello.
Hello, Clarissa.
Hello. For over 25 years, Simon has been employed by East Anglian farmers to help control the rabbits on their lands.
All over East Anglia, the rabbits have had a good thrive and breed and targeting the same crops. They do say every rabbit's a £5 worth of damage. So if you're a farmer working on the edge of your balance sheet with your yields, the last thing you want to do is see 20 or 30 of these brown little bodies going out onto that field and doing them chisel teeth and causing a lot of damage.
It's estimated rabbits inflict over £100 million worth of damage each year. They destroy grass boundaries and railway verges with their burrows and eat precious crops. I mean, how much, just from the crop point of view, will a rabbit get through in the course of
Well, a rabbit, it'll eat a third of its weight in greens, and that's in a day.
What methods do you use?
Well, we've got my favourite, what I'm known for, my ferreting. Well,
yes.
I just love ferreting, you know. And in here,
No,
we have
look.
me 3
Sweet.
little albino Jill ferrets, what I've been working today. So
Good girl.
these are the things that do the job.
Absolutely.
You know.
Simon dispatches the rabbits in an approved, humane manner and also uses drop boxes as a way of catching them.
The passage is here. It's got a little tunnel coming through the fence to the other side. And underneath the tunnel is a trapdoor. Falls in, and then his friend comes, joins him, and that's how they work. It's a tip trap. Very simple, but yet very, very effective.
Each year, thousands of dead rabbits like these end up going to waste, some in landfill sites. Simon, though, ensures all his rabbits end up back in the food chain. What do you do with them?
The butchers are now taking the rabbits, the restaurants are taking the rabbits, and if I have to, they then go to the game dealer.
What's your favourite way of eating rabbit?
I'm a burger man.
Yeah.
Bunny burger, black pudding, lettuce, sesame seed bap, plenty of red sauce. But I'm a pie fan as well. Loads of gravy in there.
Delicious. There's no denying rabbits are a pest and farmers need to control them. But what I find shocking is that this delicious meat mostly goes to waste because we won't eat it. This needs to change.